good day and welcome to a new video. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe! Heyo and welcome today. You're joined by me, Daniel, and also I've got in Soren, or Matthew. Soren, is it? Or Soren Matthew?
Soren Matthew.
Yeah, Soren Matthew.
It's basically the direct translation from my Romanian name.
Awesome.
But Soren, you can call me Soren. Hi there.
Awesome. Yeah, you can check his work out at artstation.com/Soren. The link is in the description if you can't find it anyway. Yeah. Awesome. So today I've got my pug painting going on in the background. I had part 1 will come up last week, and this is part 2 of it. So I was talking before, usually now do part 1, part 2, part 3 of my painting. Part 1's like me doing like the first tone studies and things like that. Part 2's me adding, going from tonal to colour, and then the third one's kind of me adding the final details. And that's kind of, the way I work. I start off with, black and white, then I go into colour, and then final details on top. So tell me a bit about yourself, Soren.
Well, in a short version, I was an artist for as long as I can remember. Started drawing, I think I was about 4 or 5. Drew my father while he was away in the military. Always in those military pants and shirts, mosaic-like. I don't know how it's called in English. The kind of uniforms they wear to camouflage their appearance.
Yeah, camouflage. Yeah.
Yeah, that camouflage uniform. That's what they used to wear many years ago here in Romania in the military, and I think that was my first drawing I can remember as an artist. So I've been doing that ever since.
Awesome.
It's been a rough ride, but with small interruptions, I've been trying basically everything, and finally came to the conclusion that I love concept art, I love gaming, and definitely gonna stick with this one for the rest of my life.
Awesome. What other things did you try?
Well, when I started, I did high school, a lot of things. They taught us basic stuff, fundamentals, drawings, painting, sculpture, modeling in clay, all that stuff. That basically continued into faculty. But during my 3rd year in faculty, I wanted to get a job. And unfortunately at the time there was nothing really practical about what was I doing at the university to apply to a real-time job here in my hometown. So I applied to anything that was a little or more relevant, and that was graphic design. And I've been doing jobs in the industry, in the graphic design industry and advertising for about almost 6 years.
Ooh, nice.
But I can't say it really fulfilled me. I mean, I was good at it, and I managed, but definitely not the fulfillment I feel now while doing illustrations for games. It's nothing. There's no comparison. And so in the university, I also tried sculpture. Did also Byzantine icons, which was kind of because Romanians are an Orthodox people. They are very religious, and thought I would try that out. It did go well for a while, but again, the same lack of fulfillment drove me to try other things. Eventually, I quit my last job, my third job, tried freelancing, and I think I tried for a while the logo designs, just logo designs. So I renounced everything about graphic design, just tried simple logo designs, and again, that didn't work out very well. Until as a freelancer, I stumbled on a guy who wanted to make some like assets for a game, and that was the game called Klotzen, the Panzer Battles, which was released about almost 2 years ago. And that's when I finally found my calling, I could say. So I did a lot of stuff. In my ArtStation portfolio, I never posted those other works I did throughout my years. It's just tailored for concept art, basically.
Yeah.
And game design. But I also have another account on DeviantArt, and there you can basically see all my history as a progression as an artist.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. I mean, obviously you made your DeviantArt before your ArtStation.
I did for a while. I posted, but I had to delete that one because I wanted to make my name into an English version, so it can be more understanding for a wider audience. Because I wanted to reach out internationally. Because at one point I came to the conclusion that in Romania there is almost no industry in the games. Maybe in the capital there's some movement just about lately in the past few years, but 10 years ago when I first tried to get my first job in graphic design, there was nothing. I mean, there were not even rumors about positions as an artist. I mean, I did play games. There were a few games. I remember I played Knights of the Old Republic from BioWare, which is a very cool game. But I never knew there were artists doing the imagery for the game, and there was a real job you can get paid at doing basically the art and not just graphic design.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a long road.
I mean, it's always a hard thing to get your head around because like lots of people struggle with that idea that you can actually make money from, doing art. Because a lot of people have that, don't be an artist, you won't get paid, you won't make any money. There's a lot of people that have that mindset, but in reality there's all these jobs out there. It's just a matter of pushing forward to get to them and pursuing them, and understanding what they take to get into. Like for you, concept art, you're very strong with that. I can see you're really strong with your characters there, which is really nice to see all that stuff, which can be very helpful to get you those kind of roles.
Well, it's exactly as you say. I mean, for me it was a really long learning curve because I made that same mistake you said. I started out with a preconception at ending my faculty. I started out with a preconception that you couldn't do much with art. I mean, seeing my professors having a really small salary as a professor and coming day to day, sometimes wearing the same clothes, driving second how do you say, second tire cars, and it reflected a lot of in my unconscious, a lot of poverty, and I associated that you couldn't live as an artist, and that was a big mistake I did, a preconception, and in fact I really thought I wouldn't do anything with this talent, and there was another preconception that the only way you can make money is you are a lawyer or a medic or a banker. And I did try medicine at one time after art, after finishing the art school at the university, sorry. Yeah. And I did that for 2 years. And I remember I had a professor who was an anatomy professor. Yeah. And during his lectures, he would pause and say some wise tales about his life and his conclusions about how to be happy. And it was nice to hear some knowledge from a person who was he was, I think, 70 years old. So he had a lot of experience in many things, being a medic himself. And he said something that really stuck with me. He said, it's better than to be a lesser paid cook than a well-paid doctor. If that makes you happy. And interestingly, I heard this so many times from other professors, because there were many who went into medicine just because of the money. And after going through 6 years of school and the residency, which, depending on the type of doctor you want to become, can last another 6 years. So basically a decade in your life of preparing. You can't. It's very difficult to turn back. And you notice that it wasn't for you. You're stuck on that road. And I had this professor who already regretted. He was histology. He was a professor of histology. He always regretted of doing medicine. He said he was always more happy going back into his garden and taking care of his vegetables and flowers. That was his happiness. Yeah. So definitely in the second year I renounced medicine and wanted to pursue my passion for art again, because I knew this wasn't leading into a good road for me. So definitely one thing you should do is stick to what you like and what you're passionate about. Don't just go for the money. And another thing I learned, this was watching a YouTube guy. He said, be good enough at something and eventually somebody will pay you to do it. Yeah. And of course, another thing, as an introvert, and I think most artists are introverts, it's important to show off, not brag, but not exaggerate. Brag because it's important to show your work. Otherwise, you can be the best that there is. If nobody sees your work, you won't be noticed, and if you won't be noticed, nobody will hire you or pay you. And it's a little bit difficult as an introvert to do that, but it's one of the most important things to do, especially if you're starting out and want to be a good artist and live from this passion. You know, it's one of the secrets that I learned very lately, in my life. So I think it's important to get that message across. So do make accounts on ArtStation, Deviant, Polycount if you're in 3D. there's a lot of YouTube, if you can, really, if you can video register your progression, or even talk. If not, you can just make how's that called, when
Time lapse.
you make a video. Exactly, time lapse.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
there's so many ways you can use it. Like you said, like making time lapses. For me, I'm making these videos. And recently, I think it was the start of this year, I'm also doing like weekly tips, just like little tips that I come up with. They just take me 5 minutes to kind of record, where I just give tips. It could be about Photoshop one week, it could be about drawing triangles another week. And I use it in different ways. Like I would say that I use YouTube the most. With my other social medias, I don't I post to Instagram like twice a week, but I need to like update my other ones as well, like my art station and stuff like that. But I don't usually update them as often. Yeah, how often do you use your social medias?
well, it's a challenge really. Since I did open an Instagram, but I never used it. Uh, I will try to use it, but definitely have a Facebook and a Twitter account which I use, and it's a it takes a little bit of your time.
Mm,
You can't
yeah.
can't avoid that. It's the same. It's important to also create and also share what you create.
Mm,
So you have to spend time in both, and prepare accordingly. It's sometimes difficult, but you having having to share those words, and hearing replies and likes from those who follow you, it really drives you forward.
mm.
It's encouraging. So it definitely helps. Definitely helps. Even if you're not the kind of guy who usually hangs out on social media platforms.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can be rewarding, but obviously if you're spending all your time on social media, you don't get any work done, and that's kind of where I fall. I don't want to spend all my time on social medias. I kind of want to get painting and get things created as well. Um,
Yeah, most artists do things like that. I just want to work. I just want to create. It's a logistics. Sometimes you have to do it, because otherwise nobody is gonna see your work.
mm,
That's the beautiful thing about the internet now, and the age we're living. Because other times, if you were to become an artist, I mean, if you were an artist, and let's say you discovered your talent early on, but you were living 100 years ago in the village, or hamlet in the middle of the Carpathians. You didn't had much chance then.
mm,
You could just waste your talent, and uh, your life would be mostly field work and taking care of the animals, and
mm,
farm stuff. By the way, I did manage to see that life as a child growing up. I used to visit my grandparents in the holidays, and I can still remember a time when I used to go with my grandparents to the field and work the field, and riding a carriage, uh, or a wagon that was made entirely of wood, and
mm,
even the wheels were wood, and spikes, and everything, and it was drawn by bulls.
mm,
Something you don't see now in Romania, very rarely, but 20 years ago it was pretty common, and it's amazing it's amazing that that life didn't that sort of life was valid even 500 years ago here in Romania. So definitely took Romania. It for Romania it took a longer time to adapt to the new age. So it's still in a period of transition where most of the cities are modernized, but some of the villages, especially high in the mountains, still cling to that way of life. That I could say even medieval way of life.
Yeah, probably with like no Wi-Fi or anything like that.
No, no way. No way, no way. In fact, in the village where I used to spend my holidays at my grandparents, it was just about no more than 10 years ago that they paved the road. There was electricity. Don't get me wrong. There was electricity for as long as I can remember, but the roads were always muddy. And if you were to visit on Christmas and the the ground wasn't frosted, you could get stuck with the car driving those roads. By the way, I think in New Zealand now it's winter, yeah.
It's what? Yeah, it's winter right now. Yep.
Oh, it's so weird to have a winter during summer, and actually, it's so weird to have a Christmas during summer there.
Yeah. It's but it doesn't matter because usually on Christmas, like on Christmas Day, it just starts raining. 2 or 3 Christmases in a row, it's been raining on that day. But it's quite nice as well because we've had a lot of like hot Christmases as well, where we've just like in the afternoon we jump in the pool, after a hot day. It's been interesting, but yeah, I've never experienced having a winter Christmas. That'd be
No.
Sorry, what?
Did it ever snow in the past years during in New Zealand?
So what was that?
Where? Sorry. Did it ever snow? Did you ever had snowy season?
So
or just rain?
It does like snow in parts of New Zealand, near like the kind of outer places and the high mountains and things like that, where mountains are kind of snows around the winter time. Like now, about now would be kind of skiing season, so there'll be a lot of in the mountains, a lot of people going skiing and snowboarding and things like that.
Awesome.
And where I live, it has snowed like once since I've lived here. Just random snow one time, just from it being so cold once. But yeah, that's the only time I've ever experienced snow. And there's this big long stretch of road that's out near some of the hills that it's known for having, it's called the desert road, but in winter it's like covered in snow, which is really cool. We used to, as kids, would go past it and would build like snowmen and things like that in the winter. So yeah, it's also, have you spent a lot of time in like snow and things, or?
Well, I remember as a kid, it used to snow always. I mean, always, year after year. Before Christmas, snow will come like clockwork. But I think in the past 15 years, it came a period. There was a year when it didn't snow, which was very strange. And then the next year snowed, and then came a period where it was 2 years without snow, two Christmases without snow, and then it snowed again, and that's basically increased until now we have 5 years without snow, and when it snows, it's a celebration.
Mm.
It's becoming very, very rare when it snows in Christmas, and even this winter we had little snow. I mean, it snowed a few days, not necessarily, and as soon as it snowed, it just melted. It never stayed white and crispy as it did in my childhood. So definitely, I would say global warming is catching up
Yeah.
here.
It's a
So,
hard thing. I mean, this year's summer, I think it was this year, was the hottest summer it has been for like, I think it was like 20 years. Um, so it's quite interesting. We got, usually, we sit on like 20 degrees. I don't know what that is Fahrenheit. Do you guys have Fahrenheit or degrees over there?
no, we have Celsius. Celsius.
Celsius.
I don't know how to translate Fahrenheit. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
degree Celsius, so that's the same as us. We usually get somewhere in the summers in the 20s, and we got in the 30s last summer. So it's actually 5 or 6 degrees hotter than it usually would be in summer. Um, but yeah, it's just global warming, which but I've seen some pretty cool and interesting things about it. Like something I did find was a fungi that eats plastic. Um,
Oh, oh my God, really?
yeah, they've
It's is it genetically engineered to eat plastic, or
um,
did they discover it?
I'm not. I think they might have discovered it. It's been through a university study at the moment. Um, yeah, it's these mushrooms and they're eating plastic, and apparently it turns into water as well after it's done its whole cycle. Um, so I found that.
That's just
Hmm.
that's just amazing.
Yeah, exactly. We're coming through
it's
with all these breakthroughs as well that that could help with those kind of things. Um, yeah.
yeah.
So English isn't your first language. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's my second language, but I've learned it as a kid watching when they used to run shows like Looney Tunes or
Hmm.
Merry Melodies, Tom and Jerry, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck,
Yeah.
all those lovely characters, and later Dexter's Laboratory or Powerpuff Girls.
Awesome.
I grew up with those cartoons because in Romania they never did synchronize the voices and just put subtitles, which was a little bit silly, considering that as a kid you could never read those subtitles in time
Hmm.
to understand what was being said, and if you could read it until the end, the scene would just move on to the next one, and you wouldn't see what was just happening. You would just read.
Hmm.
So we eventually started to learn the language. It was inevitable as a kid. After a few years, you start to learn it, and you learn it pretty well. It's all my generation is like that. I mean, basically, I think the Americanization process really kicked off after the communism era, after
Hmm.
18. Sorry, just okay. So I think it was after 1990 that
Hmm.
after we entered democracy as
Yeah.
a state that we started emulating, I think, many aspects of the American culture, and even now you could see even local salesmen, not salesmen. I don't know how you call them. Local grocery. They are
Yeah.
pretty here in Romania. Here in Romania, we also have big stores,
Hmm.
supermarkets like Kaufland. I don't know if you have those in New Zealand. or but we also have local stores which are apartment sized,
Oh, yeah,
and you
awesome.
can buy stuff. And they always use foreign names, and it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous because there are many older people who come shopping to these stores, and they never know how to read the name of the store.
Yeah,
And you can see that in big firms as well, Romanian firms all over, even if they're not international, and
mm,
they just have Romanian base stores throughout the cities of Romania. Even big firms of all kinds use now English names
mm,
as a way of making. So you can even see it with my name.
mm,
It's it's changed. It's changed a lot. It changed a lot.
mm,
So there's a process where English is becoming a secondary language for young, and we're starting to lose our language
mm,
because we even in normal conversation it's really interesting. Just local Romanians speak it, and sometimes just introduce a word in English or which gives a concept better than just using Romanian word.
yeah,
Uh, we always say in place of which is bine or bene, like in Italian, we say okay,
mm,
or it's so hi man, how are you man? These are all expressions like that. It's fascinating. It's
mm.
fascinating.
It's interesting, like learning another language. Um, I learned French when I was at school, but I don't remember much of it. Um, but it's just interesting. Like I had to, we had to like write it down and translate and everything like that. And sometimes the translations to put it into French, you had to like say it in a different way. Like you might have to say, I like broccoli, and to say it in French, you would say it, um, bro- I like the broccoli or something like that. Or the sentence would be all changed, um, to say the same thing.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's the article because the article the the article, yeah,
Mm.
before a word. In English, it's neutral, and whereas in French, you should know the gender of the word. It should
Mm.
be either masculine or, and that changes. And it's the same in Romanian.
Yeah.
Uh, English is definitely a much simpler language, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so successful. It's kind of a hybrid between Latin, French, English, and other cultures, which is a result of the colonial past and the English Empire that spanned the globe. And because of that, it's a very flexible language, I think, and
Mm.
it's a efficient language, and that's why it's the lingua franca, I could say, of the internet, no doubt there. Also the Americans also contributed to that after winning the World War and becoming a world power and inventing the internet. So that's one of the reasons again why English is the primary language of the internet. But it's also because it's a flexible language. It's not a very hard language to learn.
Mm.
Especially if you're French, you would find many common words. As a Romanian, it's a little bit harder. Germans, I think, I have no problem. And as I had some friends from the Scandinavian countries, they have, I mean, they use English like it's their first language. It's impressive.
Mm.
And they don't stutter at all. It's amazing. Especially those around my age. They speak it like it's their own.
Mm.
And it's a process around the world. Uh, yeah. I think it's cool. It's cool that this is happening. It brings the world much closer to. It basically transformed the internet. I think, in my opinion, transformed the world into a global village.
Hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a common language. Did you struggle with learning it, or how'd that go?
No, no. Actually, I'm really proficient at it, especially
Hmm.
in writing. It's just because of my introvert nature
Hmm.
uh, that I stutter, and this happened also speaking my own language. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not necessarily the language itself that caused me. But I think one thing that's very difficult for me is to lose the accent. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
My accent is for your ears. I mean, if you were to hear me for the first time, let's say in a marketplace or somewhere in a tourist attraction place, what language would you expect I would
Yeah.
based on
Yeah.
my accent?
I'd say Romanian. Yeah. You know.
Really?
Yeah.
Does it sound a Latin language? Does it sound like a Latin accent or more of a Slavic?
Um, a little bit Slavic. Yeah. It's hard to say. I'm not like familiar with like what a lot of accents do sound like. Apart from the more common ones like French and um yeah, Chinese or something.
Yeah, yeah,
Those
yeah.
accents
You can
I know
distinguish
really
those a
well.
mile away.
Mm. But
Which ones are?
say what?
You can distinguish those, Chinese and French. You can distinguish those a mile away.
Yeah, yeah,
It's not
exactly.
hard.
But yeah, it's something that you live with, an accent. You kind of can't get rid of it. I mean,
Yeah,
some people like when I was growing up, some people would say that I sound very like American, Canadian or something like that. It was like, oh, are you like somewhat Canadian? I'm like, no. Mm,
uh, well, I do have some experience with accents, and I could say you're definitely from that part of the world where Australia is. I couldn't make a difference between Australian and New Zealanders based on their accent. I will
mm,
always confuse them. Same with Irish and Scots.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
would know you're from down under, as you say it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's really cool. Yeah. Do you think learning English did help you, grow as an artist or?
It does now. It
Mm,
definitely does now because, as I said, the industry of gaming is well established in Romania, and I live in a small town. There's nothing here. Only the capital is where I could prosper, maybe as an artist in this field. But now, as trying to work in the industry, freelancing, you can only do that through English.
mm,
And it's definitely a big step up. You have ambition and you want to pursue a career, especially in this industry. You cannot do it without English. You cannot.
mm, yeah.
So yeah, it helped a lot. I also know some French as well, but
Mm,
very basic.
yeah.
Same as you.
So sometimes, like, you got to think about that when you're applying to studios, because they may, most of them are English based, but there's a few studios that, have quite a few people in their team that speak other languages, or they are kind of from that country, so they kind of speak that language. But yeah, it does, open up, how many opportunities you have then. If you do learn, more languages, you can open up to obviously applying to a lot more jobs because you do know English.
Well, I think there's two things I want to add to this. My impression so far was that many studios around the world hire internationally. If you have a kick-ass portfolio and you're just they will just put your hands around you and drag you there, no matter the cost. If you're that good enough, they will take you on your team, and it doesn't matter what native language you speak, as long as you speak English. Because of that, many big studios actually, even if, for example, you're in a studio from Stockholm, most of the guys there, even if half or more than half are Swedish, they will speak English anyway inside the studio. So another advantage of this is because you're bringing other people from different countries and cultures. It's a melting pot of ideas that happens inside that studio. You don't get trapped into your own way of thinking, your own cultural habits, I could say. And by bringing foreigners into the team, you always have fresh ideas. And this is very, very, very important, especially when creating a game. Creativity is always on a list when you're applying for jobs in studios. It's always mentioned as a requirement. So definitely English has a big role. Oh, I've been applying right now, trying to get a studio job. Freelancing is a little bit difficult for me, at least. I understand as content artists, some do freelancing easily, but it's very hard and lonely sometimes. It's much easier when you're in a studio and always interacting with other artists and like-minded people. It's very refreshing and very enjoyable, as opposed when you're just sitting by yourself in a lonely room. That means from start to finish and 8 hours a day. It gets a little bit lonely.
Yeah.
So definitely. For me, I wanna work in a studio. That's one of my ambitions right now.
Awesome.
So apply as many as I can and finally get a job somewhere.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining me today. It's been really awesome chatting with you.
Yeah,
any last things you'd like to say or mention?
Well, definitely never give up. If you like it and it thrills you and it's close to your heart, then listen to your heart. And because you're living in the age of information is readily available anytime. And just there's so much tutorial information right now about concept art that wasn't even half that much 5 years ago, and 10 years ago there wasn't. So definitely, if you want to pursue a career, for example, in concept art, just subscribe to some channels and just start immediately, and you'll soon have an amazing.
Yep, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining me, whether you join me on Twitch or YouTube. Please do like, share, subscribe. Also check out your work at sorenmatthew.artstation.com. Yeah, thanks you for joining me again. Bye everyone.
No problem.
Bye.
Bye.